Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Morning.
I'm gonna real quickly see if I can get this microphone to work, or I'm just going to shout for the next 40 minutes.
So you get the line.
Let's see. Hello? No? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Oh, there we go. It's on. Lucky us, the battery still works. It'll slide in my pocket. So, look at that, got the slides and everything. Today we're going to talk about being the light of the world, and what that all means, how to be it, and how what it means. And we're going to work through that together. And I think one of the best ways to always start off is to have a story, as my pastor taught me. It's the hook to get your attention. It's a pretty fun story, actually, of a little embarrassing, but that's always a good part of the story, is to embarrass the person who's telling it. This story starts off Halloween. A group of my friends in high school. We were probably 8th grade, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older. It's give or take 4 years. We went to a haunted house for Halloween. We were like, this is a great idea. Let's go enjoy that. Stewie might remember it, just a little bit maybe. Maybe it'll come to him eventually. But we went to a haunted house. We all divvied up in groups, and it's the first time I've ever been to a haunted house. And it was a long line getting into it, and we're sitting there outside this line, or sitting in the line, waiting to get in the haunted house. We're kind of hyping each other up, like this is going to be scary. This is a joke. They can't even touch us. I remember saying that. We're like, this isn't going to be scary. None of these workers are allowed to even lay a finger on me. What do I have to be afraid of? I was so incredibly wrong. No, they did not touch me. No, they did not need to. But anyway, we get through this line, and we get through the first part of the haunted house, and this is an outside haunted house, so it's moonlight. There's a lot of things that kind of light it up, with the occasional light that lights the path. And we're going through, and the first 2-3 minutes of this haunted house, there's nothing. And we're just walking through. It's a creepy building. If you haven't been to my house, my property, it's full of creepy buildings. I got this. This is easy. This is nothing. Now we're walking through, and eventually we get to this passageway. We go through this barn. And we kind of get to this passageway where it's glass here. We couldn't see it was glass, it was really dark. But there's glass here, and we're kind of shimmying through this really narrow hallway. And all of a sudden, lights turn on to our left, and this semi-truck kind of goes to us and honks its horn. And it scared the ever-living crap out of me. And from that moment on, this haunted house, I had a strategy. And that strategy was this. And to just walk. And to really hope, good thing I didn't hit that, but and to really hope that I could just walk and get through this, because it was something that scared the crap out of me. And I, getting out of it, I finally get to my whole friend group, and I'm like, oh, that was nothing. And luckily it was dark out and I couldn't see my pants, so we got lucky enough there. But in looking back on that. Some things kind of came apparent to me. One of those things being the fact that I did this. I looked down at the ground. I kept myself in this dark environment this whole time. When looking back, I could have looked up a little bit. If I would have looked up, I would have, things would have come more apparent. I wouldn't have been trapped in this haunted house per se. And what I mean by that is, this was an outside haunted house. There was no roof covering me. It was in the woods, sort of. There's sporadic trees or whatever, but it was in a pretty civilized area, right? We're not in the middle of nowhere. And if I would have looked up, I would have seen lights coming from the town that's right by. I would have seen light from the stars and light from the moon. And it kind of takes away from that experience. If I would have looked up and seen that, because how scary can somebody be with a chainsaw in a woods when he's standing behind a McDonald's sign, you know? It takes a lot away from the experience. It's a lot less scary. And you know, that's kind of what I realized I should have been looking for. I should have been looking for that light when I was surrounded in that darkness. When I'm sitting in this terrifying moment, if I would have looked up and seen that light, it would have been a lot less scary. And that kind of leads me into what I wanted to discuss with you. And that's something that's in the Bible extremely frequently. It is constantly discussed in the Bible, the idea of light being God and his influence on the world, and that he provides light, that he is the light. It's used throughout the New Testament and the Old Testament, and if you look up light in the Bible, you'll get directed to 100 different websites that say these top 27 verses that use light in the Bible. I know they exist because I've been on like 4 of them studying for this. But I wanted to focus on one verse in particular that kind of came to me a while back, and that verse is Matthew 5:14 through 16. And in that verse it says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." There's a lot in this verse, and a lot of ways that you can unpack it, as with most things in the Bible. A lot of different ways you can apply it and expand upon it and look into it. But we're going to focus on this concept of light. And I've kind of broken into a couple steps that hopefully make it easy for you to remember and kind of take home. And the first step that I've broken into is see it. And this is the first and is the most important step to being able to see this, right? To being able to be the light that it says. So that raises the question of what is the light? That's the big thing, because how do I see this light if I don't even know what it is? How do you identify what it is? And that's where we kind of start into, you have yin and yang kind of thing, where in our world there's always darkness and there's always light, and when there's darkness there's probably light, and when there's light there's probably darkness. And this darkness in this context is sin. And this sin is from a corrupted world, as we can kind of discuss it. This corrupted world that we corrupted with Adam and Eve is surrounded and engulfed in sin. And this is the darkness that we're talking about. So to give more context here, we go back a little bit further. We can start from the beginning on the fact that Adam and Eve went and disobeyed God, and even though God created them a perfect world in the Garden of Eden, they were living in a sinless world. There was no suffering, there was no death, there was no hatred, there was nothing but love and happiness, and they were just in a perfect world. No darkness at all. It was just light, which sounds pretty dang good. But either way, they dropped sin into that world and corrupted it. And when they corrupted it, it's like if you can imagine if we just shut the lights off. Every light in this room went off, and then you're surrounded in darkness. It's the same thing that they had. They got booted out of the garden, and they are then stuck in a completely corrupted and sinful world where they are exposed to suffering and death and all these things. And that brings in the darkness. Darkness is a scary topic. But then, move forward, this darkness kind of gets a little changed, a little, we get a way out, per se. And that comes from salvation. That comes from Jesus Christ and what he did on the cross, his sacrifice. It gave us a way to be forgiven. And as much as we, add to the darkness and we commit sins and all these things, we are granted a way to get out of it via Jesus' sacrifice and what he did on the cross. That no matter how many times we commit sin, we go against God, we can always be forgiven and always be brought back into the light, per se. So that's kind of where this light is. This light is Jesus and God and all that they do for us. In a world that is entirely darkness, there is nothing good. And that is what the concept of hell is. That is, you take away God and everything that he gives for us, and you have hell. And hell is entirely swamped in darkness. You are separated from God, which means there's no happy feelings. There's no, you can't wake up in a good mood. You can't wake up on the right side of bed. And you're constantly exposed to everything that's negative about this world. And that light that we're discussing right now, that is everything positive about this world. That is, the love that you feel, the happiness that you feel, every good experience, the marching band, the musical sound that a trombone produces. That is the light, all right? And maybe, just maybe, the sousaphone too. I'll throw that in there. But this light is that. It is Jesus. It is Jesus Christ. He is the light. He is the source behind everything. But then we can also exemplify and share this light a little bit through our actions. And that's where it comes into. And that's why I also like this verse so much. Because when this verse goes over the fact, it says, the very first thing it says, the first sentence, it says, you are the light of the world. And that's where we're kind of getting into in my next topic of be it. So we have see it, and then we have be it. And this is talking about that once we see the light, once we recognize the fact that Jesus is in charge, then that's when we move into the next step here, the becoming that light. So I believe I have another question for be it. So how do we show this light? There we go. Well, this is where we should show up and be different from the world as Christians when we believe in God. That we are called to be, as I put it in here, and what I really like to think is that as Christians we are called to be different. We're called to be different. I don't know, there's a pen up here. We're called to be different. Let's focus. We are called to be different from the world. We are called to be separated and to be different. And in the world that we live in right now, there are plenty of ways to be different that the world has created. Hundreds and hundreds of ways. Nobody wants to not have individuality. No one wants to be the same as the person next to them. And it comes through in the world all the time. You see it walking through the college campus. You see people dressed in these crazy colors, and they have all these crazy, crazy hairstyles. And you look at them like, yeah, they're trying to be different. And sometimes you're like, oh, they really need to stop. But as Christians, we're not called to change our hairstyles and make ourselves stand out. We're called to be different. And as I always say it, we're called to be different, but we're called to be better. That is how we're supposed to be different. We are different because we're supposed to be better. It doesn't make us better than everybody, but it's called to be better. And what is this better supposed to look like? And in the verse, it discusses a very similar topic. It says, a city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all those who are in the house. So, as Christians, we are supposed to be proud of our faith. We're supposed to be proud that we're Christians. We are supposed to put this on a hill so that everybody can see that we are Christians. And when they see that we are Christians, what they should see is the fact that we're different. And again, better. But what does this different look like? What does this better look like? And that is, we should look at the life of Jesus, and we should try to exemplify what he did and how he acted to the best of our capabilities. And what does that mean? In its simplest terms, is he gives us this commandment in Mark 12:30-31. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. So God tells us that the first and most important thing you can do is to love him, to love Jesus. And then the second most important thing to do is that you should love everybody. Everybody around you, you need to love them and share this love. And he says that it should be a very similar love that you share with him. You should love everybody. And then if everybody loved everybody, we'd have a lot less problems in this world, I imagine. Every single conflict that we have is revolves around the fact of you hate somebody. Nobody goes out and murders somebody just because they love them. Nobody says, I really love this person, so I'm going to kill him. That's not how that works. That's not how emotions work. So what do? We go out and we say, I hate this person. I hate them so much, I'm going to do harm to them. I'm going to do wrong by them. And that's what God tells us. One of the most important commandments is that you should love your neighbor as yourself. As for some people who don't quite understand that, just a little context for the neighbor, when it says neighbor, it does not mean the person next to you. So if you're sitting in the chairs right now, and you look to your left, you look to your right, God is not saying that you should love this person, but not this person over here. Although sometimes, kind of like, that's a tough one. They're not sitting next to me for a reason. But no, it says everybody in this church should love everybody in this church. And again, there's more context, the fact that this love does not mean that you have to go out and put a ring on their finger and marry every single person in this church. He really calls for us not to do that. But what it means is that you shouldn't hate them. You shouldn't outcast them. You shouldn't spread hate. In that regard, what he's saying is you don't have to be best buds with these people. You should be cordial with them. Jesus was cordial with everybody. And Jesus even took the people that were the low class, the taxpayers. Everybody hated the taxpayers. Somebody comes to your door and demands money, you're not going to be best buds with them. I mean, that's tough. But Jesus took them and made them his best friends, his closest disciples. And that's where we should be as similar as we can to that. And that's where things can kind of get hard. It can get extremely hard. Because let's say, for example, in this church, and as Christians, we're guilty of this excessively often, and so often, in the regards that we can't fight this urge, we can't win it. We look at somebody and we say, well, they're committed this sin, so we should hate them. And maybe we don't come out and say that, but we definitely act upon it, 100%. And as Christians, we fail over and over and over again. I fail over and over and over again. There's plenty of people in college that I see that I'm like, oh my gosh, I just can't. I can't with them. And I shouldn't do that. I know I do it, but as I fight it, I should fight that urge to devolve into hating them. I need to show them love. I need to show them kindness. Everybody, no matter how much they disagree with me, especially on a Christian level. There's sometimes people will figure out that I'm Christian and they will hate me for that. They don't approve of it. They don't like it. They will tell me they don't like it. They will do all these things. I had a class from my honors college to where I stepped into this honors college class, and it's full of people who are very, very, very different from me, very different backgrounds and everything. And we often had debates in this class, and we very frequently would do philosophical debates. And if you know me from high school and stuff, I love debating. Oh, I love it so much. I love getting into arguments with people. I do it. It's arguments. I like to say it's debates, but it's arguments. I really do enjoy it. And when this class we started debating stuff, I'm like, oh, this is great. I absolutely love this. And I love debating with these people, but there was definitely times where they would come after me pretty hard. And in those moments when they came after me pretty hard, it was the temptation to just be like, whoa, I hate this person. And then, just the temptation to just a little bit of an uppercut, like, well, your nose looks funny, so beat that, I guess. There's a huge temptation to do that, but I can't do that. I shouldn't do that. And, I'm proud to say in that class, I never did that. But there's definitely other times where, it devolves into that. And as Christians, that's not our job. We can't be doing that. We should be showing love to these people. And, what's the, I forget the saying, but, basically along the lines of, if you get hit, you shouldn't hit back in that sense. We should be better. We should be different. When the world, as I kind of like to say it, is that when the world shows hatred, as Christians, we should show love. And when the world holds a grudge, we should show forgiveness. And that's where we're called to be different. And that's some of the ways that we can do that. And again, you can just look and read about Jesus' life, and you'll figure it out, right? How he acted, how he treated people. We're supposed to mimic that the best we can. And if we could do that perfectly, then everybody would see the light and see Jesus. But that brings the question of how. How do we do that? Because unless I'm unaware, none of us are Jesus. We can't do what Jesus did. We can't show love to everybody. We can't be perfect 24/7. So how do we become close to that, as close to perfect as we can? How do we develop our skills to be able to see somebody that's totally disagreeing with us, who's being almost violent to us? How do we look at them and say, "Oh, I still love you. I still love you as a person. I may not agree with everything you're doing, but I still love you, and I will still treat you with respect and everything." Well, this ability to show this love effectively comes from a close relationship with Jesus Christ. I've actually prepared a fun demonstration to hopefully get this to stick in your head. Elijah would call it a light show. I would call it a light show. So if we can actually shut the lights off real quick, we're going to have some fun with lasers and a flashlight. So this is the laser I use to actually sight in my guns. So it's a super powerful laser. And what I want you to imagine is the room that you're sitting in right now is your life right now in this corrupted world, right? You're surrounded by darkness. This darkness is kind of getting away. Can we get the lights all the way off, actually? Yeah, I know. There we go. Yeah, it's really dark. All you can see is me, and I can't see you at all, so this is actually even worse. Huh? Yeah, I'm not touching it. I'm not going to touch anything back here. So what I want you to imagine is that the room that you're currently in is your life, right? Your life without Jesus, without this light at all, right? So you're surrounded in darkness. This is your life without God. When God separates from us, you're surrounded by darkness, all of you. You're surrounded by sin. All you can do is sin. All you can do is be miserable. There's no happiness. There's nothing, right? So then we have a laser pointer here. And what I want you to imagine is that we can't be Jesus, right? But Jesus can shine through us. So, the battery in here, we untwist this real quick. This battery, I want you to imagine, is Jesus, right? So Jesus is inside of you. Once you see the light and you accept that light, he's inside of you. And with inside of you, you can do a lot more things. Another thing I want you to imagine is the lens here. That's you. Right? That is your relationship with Jesus. When that lens is small, the light that comes out is small. So, we have a laser, and this is the light that's coming out from us. Right? When we have this small lens and small relationship, that this, as you can see as it moves around the room, it lights up some of the darkness. It takes away a little bit of that sin. It makes our lives a little bit easier as we become better people. And we really kind of embrace the light, right? This is so much fun. You guys have no idea. But this is that lens. That lens is our relationship to him. And it becomes bigger. As it becomes bigger, then more light is shown. We become more of the light of Jesus, right? And this is, Jesus is the light or is a battery that never dies. We can always draw on him. And it's just about our relationship with him that'll improve that. So as we expand our relationship with him, as we study his word, and we study what he did, that becomes easier and easier to do that. And I want you to also imagine that this form, right, this little laser, what this kind of is in your life, what this light is, right? Because there's one thing where you can see the light, and that's easy. Okay, cool, laser pointer, that's me. But there's a point in your life where this shows. And as I zoom it around the whole room, that's expanding how Jesus will come through in different points of your life, right? He'll shine through in different areas. And when you have this tiny relationship with him, it's where we kind of pick and choose where we want it, right? That's what I kind of like to imagine it, is that in my life, when I don't have this strong relationship with him, I like to pick and choose where I want to shine him. So if, let's say, over here is, my close family and friends and stuff, and I decide that I want to shine this relationship with Jesus over there, or this is just when I'm in church. So I have this laser shining over here, and this part of my life is getting the light of Jesus. But now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when I'm shining this laser over here, is the laser anywhere else in this room? Let's all answer that. Is this laser anywhere else over here? Is there light over here?
I don't think so.
No. There's no light over there. And that's where, when we have this small relationship with Jesus, we tend to focus, and this light gets concentrated on one part of our lives, and it leaves everything else in darkness. So let's say this is just Sunday, and the rest of the room is, Monday through Saturday. When you go to church, that's it. This part of your life gets Jesus. Everywhere else doesn't get Jesus. And that's because your relationship isn't strong enough with him yet to go into the other parts of your life. And that's where, as we expand our relationship, the lens grows. And that lens is able to push more light of Jesus into the world. And again, this light is positive things. It's forgiving somebody when the world wouldn't. It's loving somebody when the world would hate them. And that's where this thing is so much fun. What do I do with this? I blind my brothers. That's it. Now, I'm not going to blind anybody here, hopefully. So, as we expand, as you get closer to Jesus, your lens gets bigger. Imagine this, the lens is bigger. So what do you guys think happens when I turn this on? As long as it works, it should, it'll light up a larger part of your life. So let's try that. Woo! Yeah, so now look at that. So much more of your life is being lit up as a result of this. Look at all of these corners now that have so much more light, and this is the light of Jesus coming through. So now you're walking through campus, and you're like, wow, look at that person. Let's go up and talk to them. They're sitting alone. Let's have a good time with them. Let's go lighten their day, brighten it up a little bit. That's what it shines through so much more. But then there's one thing to notice. Let's look as I'm pointing it up at the ceiling, let's look here. Let's look back there. Let's look back there. Let's look up here. Let's look on the sides. There's still darkness in this room. It's not fully lit up. And the reason for that is because we're not Jesus. As we already established, we can't be perfect. But what we can do is expand our relationship with him and become better people. To expand this lens, I don't have a bigger flashlight than this, I'm going to be honest. And if I did, it'd probably be a hazard to bring it in here. But as we expand our relationship, more and more of our lives will be covered in this light and covered in what we need. Our love will be shared to a wider audience, and it includes everybody. There's still the same issue of what I often see Christians do, which drives me insane, is the fact that we'll take this big light, we have this great relationship with God, but then we'll just take it and let's just spin it over here. So now, all of this is left in darkness. Because as Christians, we decided that this is what we want to focus on. And this is what we often do, what has been done over and over and over again in history. And this is where we got to fight it. We have to learn from our past mistakes. Let's hit some historical examples, just kind of off the top of my head here. Let's think back to the Pharisees. The Pharisees were with Jesus. These were people that were incredibly religious. They had a giant lens, or they thought anyway. They had this giant relationship with God, yet they still killed Jesus. They still made these mistakes. In the 18th, when it came to slavery was approved by the church. The church said that it was fine. It's because we were so focused on one part of the life being so perfect that we decided that these people over here that we don't like because they look different from us, that they are accepted or excluded from this rule. When the Bible clearly says differently, we still ignored that because we decided that we didn't want to include these people. And when as Christians we look at people that we don't like, we don't think deserve this light. That's what we often do. And as often as we want to say that we don't do that, we do it subconsciously. We do it without even thinking. We do it when we post on Facebook and we make a post that's bashing somebody online. We as Christians have to make sure that we still show respect, we show love to these people. And that brings up the final point that I wanted to make that just totally escaped my mind because I was reading The Hound. Yeah, that's better. Is the one thing is that no amount of darkness can take over light. Can overtake light. That's how I worded it. Oh, and that's the fact that as we bring the actual lights back on, the darkness in this world can never overpower or overtake the light of Jesus. There's no amount of darkness can be a light. I could be standing up here with a tiny little match, and you guys would be able to see it all the way out there, no matter how dark it was in this room. Actually, the darker it was, the easier it'd be to see it. And that's where there's a crucial point there, that as we become, more and more Christ-like Jesus in the ways that we are friendly to everyone, that we, just read the Bible, read what he does in the Gospels, read how he acts around people who are not good. He still treats them like they're like his best friends. I mean, he treats them with respect. He treats them amazingly. And if we can mimic that, then it can really show that no matter how dark the world gets, no matter how full of hate the world gets, that we can still shine bright. And again, as I was just kind of mentioning, as the world gets darker, it is our duty to shine brighter. And as Christians, we should stand out. We should be that house on the hill. We should be that light for these people. We should be a lamp, not hidden under a basket, but on the lampstand, showing light to the whole house. And again, how do we do that? As a little final note here, is that the fact is that we do this by our good works. We do this by how we interact with people. With Christians, we shouldn't be, Bible thumping, going up to people and beat them over the head with the Bible, saying, "Oh, you're full of sin. I'm gonna beat it out of you," right? No, that's not how this works. When it comes to converting people, it's not the beating them over the head with the Bible that gets them there. It's just having people able to look at you and say, "Wow, something is different about them." Right? They should have an interaction with you, and they should be, "Whew, I just had so many interactions with these people, and they were rude, they were mean, they were all these things, and then I interacted with them, and they were so nice." You can't go up to somebody and be so hateful, and then tell them, "Well, actually, you should come to church now and hear about why I'm so hateful." Let me sell you on my hatred, right? You sell them like someone should look at you and say, I don't understand how you could forgive me for that so quickly." Well, simply put, I've been forgiven. And if I've been forgiven, then I can certainly forgive you. And that's where we can set ourselves apart and become better people, let's see, how do I have it worded here? I can't just keep babbling on, but we can be better people, students, husbands, wives, everything. We can be better when we truly become what Jesus was. Again, as the worship team comes forward for this last song, it is our duty as Christians to show love when the world shows hate, and to show forgiveness when the world shows penalty. Love your neighbor as yourself. So I encourage you to expand the relationship you have with Jesus and see the outcomes that you get from it, and the effect that your relationship has on the world around you and the people around you. To be able to show them, I can forgive you for everything that you do because I am forgiven. It is a truly magical and powerful thing that we are capable of doing. And even though we fail at it over and over and over again, we can always rely on the fact that we can pray to God and say, "Can you forgive me for my mistakes?" And then, as we are forgiven, we can go out and forgive people just the same. Now, we'll well, yeah. Go ahead. Catherine would like to just share a little bit about her testimony, give a little background so that they understand, where you're coming from.
I grew up in this church with Broden. I saw him when he was little. 2 years ago, I got saved in this church. Even though I grew up in this church with Brody, who accepted Christ very early, I was still shrouded in darkness. And it's not the place that I was, it was what I was doing with my life. And when I was 22, 2 years ago, I came into this church expecting to be hated, to be spit on. And that was not what happened. I was welcomed with loving arms, and people came up to me as if they were missing a family member. And they accepted me back in here. And even though I wasn't perfect and I had so much sin, there was so much love. And that was Reckless Love was the song that turned my heart to God. And so I want to thank this church for what they've done for my life. And I'm so thankful that Brody was able to grow up in this life. Thank you.
Love is our most powerful weapon against the sin of this world. And as Christians, we should show that love. And as you'll bow your heads with me, we'll say a quick prayer to God here. Dear God, we thank you for allowing us all to gather here today. And Lord, I thank you for the friends that came to support me. And Lord, I just pray to you that you would reach into their hearts and point everyone here towards the right direction, Lord, and make sure everyone knows that as you have forgiven us 1,000 times, we should go out and forgive the world 1,000 times over as well. Lord, I pray that you would give us the strength to be different and to be better than the world that we are a part of, Lord, and to spread and show the light of Jesus through our actions as we expand our relationship with you. In your name we pray. Amen.
And as always, it is just a stage front, but that is our altar. And the altar is always open if you want to respond to God's calling on your heart.